Welcome to P English Literature, a YouTube channel that conveys Amazon, Goodreads, blog, and video book reviews coupled with interviews with authors. It's a perfect channel for book lovers, authors, and writers generally. P English Literature, the exact channel for you and me. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel at P English Literature. This is the first book review that I'm making for the month of June and my 20th book review on P English Literature. So in respect to this, I want to urge you, if this is the first time you're watching this video or you're watching this channel, to please click on the subscribe button over there. Also like and share the video. Thank you very much for that. So today is another episode of another video book review, and I'm talking about this book right in front of me, Transparent Moment by Nicole Gillespie. It's actually a book of poem. I love this book so much because it has a kind of raw emotion instilled in it, and to my own perception is a kind of book that was written based on the author's perspective. It's a kind of an autobiographical seeming poetry, and I love every crafting of each poem that leaves me, in a state of horror. The best poem to me are actually the one with a grandeur of text, of subtext that makes me to think, pondering, and seeking meaning. And Nicole Gillespie's poem, Book of Poem Transparent Moment, fall under this category of book. Before I dive into this review, I would like to read this write-up that is instilled at the back page of this book. I won't call this a synopsis. I think it's more or less like an epilogue. So it's something as much personal. So I'm gonna read it out to you. And that's firstly. And secondly, I'm also gonna read the introduction page to you. This introduction page also contains some things about the author and why she wrote this book. So, Transparent Moment. All eye on me, leaving me wide open, shaking from inside out, revealing all out. This can be perceived two ways. I can be considered weak and naive for even expressing that I'm spiritual, yet still having human want and need, or either strong or allowing you readers to see the vulnerable side of me. I know what it feels like to be strong for no reason. The race is not given to the swift or the strong, but to those that ask the endurance to carry on. If this book of poems can help somebody else, young or old, to get free out of that sacrifice of humiliation, it will be worth it to have all eye on humility before honor. Nicole Gillespie. While I was reading through this book, I felt so emotional, I felt so empathetic, and I was a little bit trying to put myself in the shoe of the author, because every emotion in this book, it is very raw and extremely directive. The book is didactic when it comes to teaching family morals. It's also fine in some aspect of humanhood and some other form of issues that has to do with humanity on itself. Well, before I move into my review, I would like to read to you the introduction page that was published alongside with the table of content. So this more or less like the introduction page. It's something is like a foreword from the author. So it's in a personalized tone, and I won't try to change it because I actually tried to change it to a third person, but it will have a kind of a difference in meaning. So I'm reading out to you the way it is exactly in the book. Introduction. I am Nicole Gillespie, a mother of three and a proud grandmother of three, born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. Although I am a true country girl at heart, I consider myself to be a nature freak with a love for writing. I'm excited to share my thoughts while allowing the world to view the canvases illustrated from my poetic soul. My poetry is raw, yet it is a pure view into my heart. This poem has been written over a span of 2 decades, dealing with brokenness, low self-esteem, rejection, empowerment, faith, and parenthood to womanhood. From the heart of a saved woman, these poems reflect the simple yet sometimes complex high and lows of life. These mountains and valley experiences helped me find balance. I found my voice through poetry, and I've been writing ever since. Writing was truly the God given therapy that I needed. For this reason, I'm excited to share my voice and earth to the world. The Word of God says we are set free through our testimony, and I don't mind testifying, especially if it will help someone else to be set free. Welcome to my transparent moment. I absolutely love this introduction part, and it actually follow the next poem which deals about fear. Well, while I read through this book, I felt a huge, wide range of fear that the author have actually spoke about based on our own personal experience. I found comfort, like I found some kind of issues that the author ultimately seek to find comfort and overcome fear by applying the word of God, like that seen in Romans 12, verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. I also find some other points related to that of He hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind. And some other portion instilled in this book that is a little bit encouraging to the author, and the author was able to find, was able to overcome the spirit of fear alongside. This book, it's actually available for purchase on Amazon. I left a link in the description part of this video if you would like to get a copy for yourself. One of the parts that I find very intriguing about this book and why I find very emotional is those points whereby the author wrote about a personal experience dealing with and overcoming the spirit of fear. This fear really tricked the author and the narrator of this book in such a way that is very gruesome, heartfelt, and empathetic. I found myself nodding at every stanza of poems that has to do with fear in this category, like that has to do with fearing bored and fear vulnerable to failure. Well, this book, it's actually a kind of book that is autobiographical to the author. It explains a book that the author wrote during a time of fear and how she was able to ultimately overcome it, and her instance when it comes to family relationship and some issues about womanhood. One reason, this book was actually written by the author when she was in these chronic issues, when she was in these trying times, and each poem that was written was a reflection of her thought during these gruesome days. And that's one of the reasons why I actually found the book very intriguing, because it asks a raw emotion in it. It asks a raw emotion instilled at every poems, and the crafting of each poems will leave you thinking and pondering, wondering and seeking meaning before you move into the next one. I found this poem very, very strong, and I think this book is a kind of book that you need to read carefully so you can understand or be able to meditate and reflect on the kind of motive that the author wants it to communicate. Though most poems in this book take a characteristics of refrain and blank verses, I still love it that way and I admire it so much. And the crafting of each poem is actually something very strong. Like I said earlier on, the words, the lines, and the stanza leaves me in a stance of hell, and I feel so emotional about it. The book is filled with raw emotion from a saved but a broken woman who seek to understand what the word really offers. I find some part of this book to be biblical and some part are very encouraging and tends to comfort us, like a page that says that all things and we know that all things work together for good for they that love God. A portion of this book spoke about the relationship of the narrator, a kind of a brokenness with the narrator, and how it's kind of a love affairs and how the aftermath left her in contemplation. And some other portion also explain the issues about this narrator and how even her loved ones react to it, and some people treat her in a kind of an unfair manner and talks showing asks the real issues and meaning of life. Some part of this poem are very, very intriguing, and they delve vast into the matter of humanity and everything that has to do with human itself. This book it's good for everyone, and I can just describe it much more than I can say. It is extremely best. This is the first poetry book that leaves me in a state of excitement. I can say that, and I can even say that again. It's a first book that leaves me in a state of excitement. Well, I would be interested to read more of books about poetry that will leave me in moods, because I actually love poems that are deep. I love poems that are profound in meaning, and I love poems who has a whole lot of didactic techniques to communicate in it. Fairy Tale and Inconceivable also tell the story of a young lady whose experience almost moved me to tears, and the aftermath of how people who get to know about a mystery seems to react to it. This part is filled with raw emotion, and it is a kind of those part that leaves me to love this book so much. I Did Not Want to Grow Up also spoke about the complication attached to growing up in the tone that is more specific to the author. And this book also dive more light to the issues that has to do with the changes in the modern day church, how the church of nowadays has called spiritual things carnal and carnal things spiritual, and a kind of a more complication when it comes to the things of God. I find a lot of poems in this book very intriguing, and one of my favorite poems within this collection are those titled fairy tales, fear, vulnerable to fear, takes less, I do not want to grow up, conceivable, fairy tales, and this issue that has to do with church visibility also. I cannot divide this book to the very point. It takes more than I can describe. I left a link in the description part of this video if you would like to get a copy of this book. This book is actually more than this book review, because I don't like to give a spoiler review on books. I don't like to talk about books in entirety in my videos. So I always review books in a kind of a spoiler-free mode, so that I will be able to leave my watcher or the viewers in a state of excitement wanting to get a copy of the book. The book is available on Amazon for a very few amount of dollars, and you can get it via the link included in the description part of this video. I want to urge you to please leave a review if you read this book, if you ultimately read this book on Amazon, and I'll be very, very glad if you can actually do so, because I love it. I can really recommend the book. It's one of those powerful poetry, to be sincere, to be honest. It's one of those powerful poetry that I have ever read. Well, thank you very much for watching my video book review. For the month of June, I've actually involved myself in reaching 650 subscribers, and so I think I'm currently below that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm actually urging you, if that's the first time you're watching this video, or if you've not subscribed to this channel, to please click on the subscribe button. And like I said earlier on, this book marked the 28th book review on P English Literature, and one of my first book review in the month of June. And that's one of the reasons why I'm also urging you to please click on the like button over there, and please share this video with your friends. Thank you very much for watching my book video. Do get a copy of Transparent Moment, Books of Poem by Nicole Gillespie on Amazon. See you in my next video. Goodbye.